Hi. I want to run a local LLM on my home network. There are a number of reasons to do this, including privacy, not getting enrolled in WorldCoin, customization, being a massive cheapskate, not depending on third parties, and really, I just want my own magic computer brain in a box to tinker with on projects. The biggest reason, though, is after the AI inference company circular economy pyramid scheme collapses, I still want a robot to write me bad code that nobody uses, so I don't have to do it. And so I have this old second-hand Mac that I use for testing. It's a Monterey device from early 2015. And this just kind of sits on my network doing not very much. So I thought I'd put it to use by installing a local LLM on it. So to get started, I've used Claude here to do a web search for me because I'm no longer able to search without my robot butler doing it for me. And I've just said I have an old x86 Mac running Monterey. I want to experiment with running local OpenWeights LLM models on it. Give me the simplest possible way to get it up and running. And so it went ahead and looked at different models and different methods. And what it settled on was Ollama. And here it gave me a bunch of incorrect information. So there was a bit of back and forth. I went to the Ollama webpage and I pasted in some stuff that contradicted what it said. And it said, "You're absolutely right," which I love hearing. And then followed that up with, "You're correct," which I also love hearing. And then it suggested a different alternative, which also had some incorrect information about running on M1, M2 Max. And so then it decided to be completely honest with me and did a reality check. And it gave me some other bad information. And so then I had the idea myself using my soft, squishy human brain to find the latest version of Ollama that supports the Intel Monterey Mac. And finally I came up with this solution to download the particular version of Ollama that still ran on Monterey on an Intel Mac. And then it gave me a dangerous bad URL where I could download that, and then an okay URL, which my squishy brain decided was probably a better idea, the official release channel. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I'll need to copy this URL, and back over on the Mac, I'm going to load up Safari, and then I'm going to paste that in there. Although I can't remember how to paste on a Mac. So when you do paste, it just seems to make this popping sound. Pop, pop, pop. My VNC session seems to be lagging somewhat. So open up a new terminal window, SSH into the box, edit, paste in the URL there. Now let's go back to the VNC session, cat Ollama URL. And now we have this on the Mac. And so here we have Ollama version 12.3 from September, which isn't too old actually. Okay, so this looks promising. Ollama Darwin. Here we go. So it's untarded. This looks like Ollama. Maybe I'll just move that onto the desktop. That kind of looks like a terminal program. I don't think I should really just double click this. I guess it's going to open a terminal window if I double click this. Let's try that. Okay, what is this nonsense? Wait, what if instead of double clicking, I just run it from the command line? cd desktop, Ollama. Is this going to work? Okay, this is the big brained way. I'm a software developer. I like the terminal. And you know what? Now that I've got terminal access to this, I don't think I need this silly VNC laggy interface anymore. So I can switch over and go cd desktop, Ollama. And now we've got a nice speedy terminal. Let me just make this larger so that you can see what's happening in my giant comic mono font. All right, so Ollama, we've got it. We've got it running. Well, we've got the help running. What does Claude tell me to do? Ollama run Qwen 2.5 3B. Okay. I don't want to run Qwen because I may want to ask questions it doesn't like, but I will test that later. What about GPT OSS? So GPT OSS is the WorldCoin pilled open source LLM from OpenAI, but I feel it's not as dangerous to ask the LLM questions on my local as sending all my data to a giant malicious corporation in the United States. Maybe. So let's try this small one here. GPT OSS 7B. The GPT OSS 20B model requires 16 gigabytes of memory to run. Syscontrol 8 gigabytes. Uh-oh, too little for the OSS, GPT OSS 20B. Wait, what I should actually do is get a small one. You know what? That's silly. I could just, wait, here, it's doing it for me. I need to correct myself. Uh-oh, two sizes, 20B, 3.6B active due to MO. Okay, I was mistaken earlier. Well, that's okay, you worked it out. I guess then I'm gonna go for the smallest of these, Llama 3.2 3B. And I realize obviously the performance is not gonna be as good. But for a lot of things, maybe it'll be fine. Maybe I can do function calling. Maybe I can have it do some bits of research for me. Let's see how it goes. Okay, Ollama run Llama. This is the smallest and fastest option that will run best on CPU only Intel Max. Okay, so I can only use this very small one because I can't use my GPU for some reason. Well, okay. Ollama server not responding, invalid argument. Okay, so obviously I have to start the server, but let me just, so what if I do Ollama serve? Okay, this looks good. Got some kind of server running. So I've opened a new tab. Now I'm gonna try that Ollama run. All right, yeah, so that's working now. It's now downloading the manifest. And we can see in our server here, it's responded to something. I guess it's made an API call to the actual, so this This server is the actual Ollama server running in the background. So I guess you leave that running and then you send commands to it using this command line. So that's going to take a while to download. I'm going to leave it in the background and come back in a minute. And okay, that download process is done, and it straight away just launches you into the chat here. Please write a small Python script to check if McCormick.cx is online. So it goes away and it's thinking for a bit, and here we can see the response coming in. You can see it's like not the fastest thing in the world, but also I guess comparable to some of the models I've run. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to copy it, test McCormick.py, paste that in there. Now the problem is it's imported requests here, and I don't think I have. Oh yeah, it's run. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty cool. So kind of amazing. Now I guess I can use this remotely as well, and so I have a free LLM running on my spare Mac here that works pretty quickly. It seems to run about as fast as some of the online ones take to respond, maybe a bit slower, and it's written some code here that I could run and it worked perfectly first time. Now this is a small model, so it's not going to be as performant as big models. I might see if I can find some larger models and see how the performance is. But the first thing I'm going to do is try running this via the API. So I'm going to go back to Claude here and I'm going to say, I have Ollama up and running. How can I configure Ada to use it? All right, so here's the thing I need to know, which is Ada-model, OpenAI base, and the URL there, which I'll have to change this local host to point to my testing Mac. So let's try this. All right, I'm going to paste that in, and now I'm going to change this here to my local Mac on my network. Let's see what happens. Now I'm just going to run an ask request. Hello world. Okay, so connection refused. I probably have to configure Ollama to allow, and so I've asked Claude here, I think it's because it's binding to this IP address, and it's told me I need to set Ollama host. So I can copy that and go back to here, and now I've killed the server, and I'm going to rerun it with Ollama host set, and it's going to bind to 0.0.0.0. And I've run that, and it says listening on the port number there without any IP configured now. So I should be able to run that curl again with my MAC address set in there and see what happens. And so now we are getting a response from the LLM. How can I assist you today? Perfect. And so now I'll run Ada with the model again and with the API base set to that same machine. Okay, we're getting connection refused again. All right, instead of using my squishy brain, I'm going to ask Claude, probably this v1 URL on the end here. All right, what do you think, Claude? Is it because it should be API generate? Is that the question? Instead of using OpenAI API base, you need to tell Ada to use Ollama's native format. Okay, let's set this environment variable. Or try the simpler approach, which doesn't have the API, so how would it know? Sorry, that doesn't make sense. Let's try this one. All right, so I'm going to set that environment variable and see if that works. Nope, and then I guess I'll try this one. Ollama API base. That's a different environment variable. Okay, it's connected. It sent hello world to our Ollama instance running Llama 3.23b on the Mac, and it's taking a little while to respond. Okay, I think something's gone wrong here. It's taking too long. Okay, it looks like the server is doing something. Did it just reload though? I don't see any errors here. Loading model tensors, this can take a while. Okay, well I think it may actually just be running. Now, the problem may actually be something that Claude said here. Context window. Ollama uses a 2K context window by default. Now that's incredibly small, as it says, very small. Ada automatically sets a larger context window to prevent data from being silently discarded. I don't know what it means by that. Like, does Ada try and set the context window to be bigger? Maybe this is just a performance issue. Like, Ada is sending so much stuff that it's not performant. It's got all these default prompts and stuff that it sends. Ada is waiting for your input. Wow. So that hello world has finally come back. So it was actually running. It's just incredibly slow. So ask hello, how can I assist you today, etc. So I guess this is because Ada is sending 1.7K tokens rather than like my curl-based hello world that I sent before. These Ada requests are much larger. So I'm just going to ask it, please create hello world.py. Let's just see if that works. Obviously it's going to take a while to come back, so I'll let that just run in the background. So Qwen 2.5 coder has the largest token window, 128 tokens. And so while that's running, I'm actually going to start the Qwen 2.5 coder model downloading in the background. I'll run that in the right folder and start that downloading. So that's downloading in the background while this model is running. And as you can see, that model is 1.9 gigabytes. All right, so I've gone away and made a coffee and come back again, and it's finally finished this hello world.py. So I'm just going to let it create that file. I'm going to say run. Oh, it's actually sent the wrong format. So what it's done here is it's created a file called print hello world instead of writing it into a file called hello world. So it's given Ada the wrong output format, unfortunately. So I guess that's like half a success. Very slow. But let's just look at this in context. So what we've got here is this old MacBook Air from 2015. We've got Ollama up and running on it with 8 gigs of memory. Ollama's running, but it's not using any GPU. So it's just running on the CPU. We're getting a response back from this suboptimal model, which is writing code, but perhaps not the best code in the world. Now this Qwen 2.5b coder is started, so I'm going to try that one now. Let's exit Ada, Qwen 2.5 coder 3b, paste that one in there, reconnect, but let's try that again. And I'll just ask the same query, please create hello world.py. So that's gone away and done that. And again, it's probably going to take quite a while. And if I run top here, I can see Ollama is running at 200% CPU. So the CPU usage is actually at 50%, which I'm guessing means this has 4 cores, and the 200% means it's using 2 of them. Okay, so Qwen 2.5 coder has responded, and unfortunately it's given me exactly the same output as Llama 3b did. So I'm just going to check here on the server. That makes me a bit suspicious. Did it actually use the right model? Yes. Print info arch Qwen 2. And so it's made this same mistake of trying to create a file called hello world rather than creating a file called hello world and printing hello world in that file. And so that's okay. I think the conclusion here is that for real-time coding tasks, these agents are not yet good enough on an old MacBook Air, but certainly I can see leaving one of these LLMs running. And I think there are a variety of different sort of agentic workflows that I can imagine running locally. So for example, having an agent running in the background that I can send documents to and it'll extract some information from them, put it in a database, something like that. Something that's not super time sensitive and can happen in the background. And although Ada didn't work, revisiting this output here where I typed directly into the Ollama console and it did give me a valid program, I think you could build some interesting tools around that, you know, sort of like autocomplete type things. You could have it quickly insert bits of code, so without running the full Ada program with all of its large prompts. And so if I can just show that one again, please write a Python hello world script. Let's take a look at how quickly that runs. And you know, some of these issues might have to do with the way that Ada specifies its diff format and things like that. You know, it's tried its best here, like outputting the file name and then this. Maybe it didn't receive the correct prompt instructions because Ada might not be configured correctly for using it in this way. So I don't know. The fact that here it can actually output a correct hello world program when you ask for one. And that didn't take too long actually. You know, this bit of code took maybe a minute to generate. And the other very interesting thing here is thinking about what would it take to get a fast enough coding LLM running on my local network. So what kind of spec of machine would I have to build? So yeah, I can see that the gap between running this on an old MacBook Air from 2015 and building your own machine with maybe a couple of graphics cards and getting things tuned a bit better is not that large. And I think you could probably get local inference working that does a pretty good job at coding and is quite fast with not too much money. Could I put together a PC with a few graphics cards and have it perform just a bit better than this? Especially if I put a bunch of memory in there, maybe I could put in like 64 gigs, get a bigger context size. And so that seems quite plausible to me. And also I could run Linux on it, which would be a big advantage. I find that idea very tempting. And so maybe that's something I'll cover in a future video. But for now, it's cool to know that I can actually have an LLM running on my local network that can perform some level of useful inference, even if it is a bit slow. And I think there are use cases where it could work. And so I think there's another important implication here, which is if you know that you can run these things locally, and you know that hypothetically you could buy better hardware to run them, you could use a model like GPT-OSS, the open source GPT, and you can use that model on the online APIs renting off someone. But having run it locally means you know that at any point you have an escape hatch where if any of those big LLM inference providers start behaving in a way that you don't like, you've proven to yourself that you can take those models and you can run them locally on your own network. So you're not completely dependent upon those large corporations. And I think that's an important thing to know. I think that this is a worthwhile exercise, getting things up and running locally so you have that escape hatch. And so that's a quick look at running local models on Ollama on a spare Mac on my network. I hope that's been useful. Thanks for watching.